Welcome back to another episode of the Simple Ask podcast. In this episode, I talk to Keon Lee, the founder of AIShura, which is a proactive AI career assistant that understands your emotions and guides you towards actionable career steps, even when you're unsure where to begin. In this episode, we cover how to get early users, how to bring on top talent when funds are tight, how to land partnerships with professors at top universities, and also think through go to market and fundraising strategy. Keon also shares his simple framework for pushing past hesitation and just executing. If you're building, this episode is packed with practical founder to founder advice that you can actually use. So, to just start off, can you give me a brief overview of what iShura is and who it's built for?
Yeah, Gen Z today lives in an ocean of information, but very little of that information turns into real action. Most platforms just overwhelm people with endless options. People often on AI to find answers, but they often end up with even more problems. Asia is the opposite. We focus on one single concrete execution. For example, if you're job hunting, instead of saying here's some career advice, we recommend nearby internships and instantly generate a resume template so you can apply right away. That's just one case, whether it's academics, career, or daily life. Whenever hesitation appeared, Asia Connect you straight into execution. We interpret behavioral signal like typing rhythm, micro expressions, tone of voice, and our accuracy has already reached 92%. According to OECD, 40% of Gen Z report feeling paralyzed and unable to act. That's
Hmm.
exactly what we solve. For those who hesitate, we give specific advice. For those ready to move, we often the fast immediately. In short, we are not building information AI, we are building an execution AI.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So it's all about action over just useless theoretical information at some point. Makes
Mhm.
sense. Um, Also, as anyone who's built a business probably knows, like when you first come up with the idea of the business, in theory it sounds great. It sounds like you've identified the perfect market gap, and then you actually start executing and you start building your business and you realize there's many problems that you could not even have predicted, and now you need to solve all of those. So I wanted to ask you particularly, what was the first reality check moment where you had this rosy eyed vision of Aishura, but that sort of collided with actually doing it?
Yeah, that's interesting. The biggest reality check was that we had no reference. GPT and other AIs we were built for different purposes. So we couldn't follow their fast. And when I tried to bring on only team members, I was constantly asked, is this even possible? And another reality was that algorithms alone cannot create emotional intelligence.
Hmm. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So you're building something that's essentially completely new in the market.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, nothing to
And
go off of. Makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. And another reality was that algorithms alone cannot create emotional intelligence. Hesitation is connected to neuroscience and behavioral
Mhm.
science. So we needed academic partnerships. That's when I
Mhm.
realized we're not just a tech startup. We're also a research startup. That was the first real collision between vision and reality.
Hmm. Okay. And yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the academic partnership thing. I'll get to that in a moment. But before that, I also wanted to ask you, okay, now you've got this idea. And like you said, when you told this to people, even on your team, they said, "Was this even possible?" So I wanted to know how you actually recruited people to join, especially from the standpoint of this was pre-funding, so you don't really have any money to give them yet. So how did you convince them to work with you?
Yeah, I couldn't convince people with money, so I shared my story. I talked about being at the edge of my life, discovering hesitation as a core human problem, and knowing it had to be solved. People are drawn to missions bigger than money. With professors, I never said, please use this. Instead, I asked, what if your research could be tested in real life with a real student? That question worked. It opened the door to partnerships.
Hmm. Okay, but now again with the academic partnerships thing, like these are some very big universities like Berkeley and KAIST and University of Toronto. I assume like a lot of people think that they're building something that academics would like to actually spend time on and invest in, but not everyone is as successful as you are in actually securing those partnerships. So, is there anything like, is there like a secret you have or a particular um, philosophy that you followed when you tried to secure those partnerships and agree and get them to agree to work with you?
Yeah. I met students one by one and told them honestly, this isn't perfect yet, but if you give feedback, it can be built for your generation. Students were more attracted to shaping the product than just using a finished one. The main insight was simple. People don't praise because of lack of information. They praise because of too many options. So we'll redesign the product to give your choices and one concrete action, like a single apply now button or a 30-minute resume template. The became the core of iShura UX.
Okay. And how did you actually find those students? Like, was it just LinkedIn? Was it Instagram? How did you get those initial few students?
My personal network and the LinkedIn and Instagram. Yes.
At this point, Keon and I turned to Google Translate because he's only been learning English for 3 months, which I think is incredible. So, to make it easier to follow, I'll read out both my question and Keon's response for this section. So, the question that I asked him was, did the test users that Keon have give him any feedback that forced him to change his product? And his response was, and I quote, they wanted a tool that would make things move, but since everything that had come out so far only gave information, they gave us feedback that it would be good to create an AI that would reduce the time I had to think. Not only that, they recommended various user friendly methods to quickly execute the UX, and I incorporated all of the feedback in my own personal way, and that is how I created the current version of iShura. Many people usually ignore feedback, but it is the feedback from actual users that can change a business. I think that listening carefully to the voices of users is the most important. Okay, and now coming to your go to market strategy, like what is your GTM wedge? Like, what's the first channel you're doubling down on, and why are you focusing on that?
Yeah. The Our GTM value is very clear. Gen Z students who struggle with career hesitation, the first channel we are doubling down on is university networks. Universities where students experience hesitation and execution every day. And after that, our expansion vision is B2B. In HR, we help applicants apply without hesitation. In robotics, machines can able to read human hesitation. In wearables, we detect fatigue and hesitation to drive healthier actions. And hesitation exists everywhere, so the possibility and risk. And yeah,
Hmm. Okay, makes sense. So first focusing more on students, like already you have the user test base, and then moving on more towards actual B2B professionals. Makes
mhm,
sense.
yeah,
Now, as me and you both know, because we're part of the same generation, Gen Z, our attention span is really, really low, and it's very hard to retain us even as customers. So, how are you thinking about using this Gen Z behavior to actually drive user growth and stopping them from stopping using iShura, basically?
yeah. Um, Gen Z is notoriously hard to retain, but we take a different approach. We don't use points or rewards. Instead, we capture the moment of hesitation and turn it into repeated small ones. Those ones build habits, and habits create a long-term retention, like Duolingo.
Okay, makes sense. And now coming to more the investing or fundraising side of things, I saw on LinkedIn that you were preparing for pre-seed investing right now, and there's a real AI boom right now, and I think some VCs can get a bit tired when every single company that comes their way is just using the AI label and trying to get funding. So, what has been the hardest part for you to convince investors that iShura isn't just another AI app?
Yeah, the hardest part was convincing investors that we are pioneers of a new market. To investors, this looked like a risk because there was no existing category. So I told them we solve hesitation, the universal bottleneck of human behavior. This isn't a picture, this is a new interface. The market didn't exist yet, but the problem is universal that means the market will inevitable often. AIShura is not another AI app. We are defining a new category. That's the hardest part of fundraising and also our biggest opportunity.
Hmm. Okay. So it sounds like the hardest part about convincing people to join your team was the same as the hardest part about convincing VCs to actually invest. Like it's a completely new use of AI that no one else is doing, and there's no frame of reference. Makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Um, Now moving on to the last thing that I want to ask you. So Aishura is mainly focused on, like you said, execution over just useless information. And hesitation kills execution, right?
Yeah, right.
So, in your opinion, then, what are the top 2 or 3 ways that founders can rewire themselves to actually execute faster?
Yeah. First, I don't set daily quotas. Quotas lead to self justification. Instead, I push myself to the maximum every day. And second, act before overthinking, execution first, learning second. And third, I put myself in a corner. Most people say praise yourself daily, but I do the opposite. I criticize myself every day.
Hmm.
That pressure drives me. For the then 2 years, I haven't taken a single day off. It may sound extreme, but this has been the most effective way for me.
Hmm. Okay, makes sense. Well, Keon, thank you so much for doing this. I really enjoyed having you on the show, and I learned a lot. And I hope everyone has also learned a lot. And yeah, man, thank you so much.